First of all, note that the title says F1 fan, not expert. There will be many videos with experts analyzing the references and the inconsistencies. This video is not about that. This is just a video from the perspective of someone who grew up watching F1 with their dad, and it's been a big part of my life, in the background for kind of ever. I mean, I remember us doing that Ferrari F1 like Lego set on the floor of our kitchen when I was super little. So it's always been a big part of my life, but I don't pretend to be an expert. Have always been a very casual watcher. Basically, the litmus test for this movie is, would my dad like it, right? And my opinion is, yeah, he'd like it a lot. I had a lot of fun. How intense, and the angle, the way, the sound. I watched it in a Dolby theater with like extra sound stuff, and boy, was that worth it. The vibrations. I mean, the sound of an F1 car, there's nothing like it. And boy, is that on full display in this movie. Just the way everything just vibrated, the sound. Oh, so good. So good. But it's the motion, the way they shot the races were spectacular. How intense they made it feel, being very in the cockpit, on the ground, the angles. It was very clear to read what was happening for almost every race. And they were good at conveying that information in a clear and exciting fashion. And the races were so exciting. The pit stops were so exciting. The way they did the pit stops might be my favorite thing in the movie. They made them extremely intense, rightfully so. They were awesome. I mean, there was one pit stop in it where you're like, your heart is in your in your throat, where you're like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it? It's great. It's great. And they framed the conflict within those races very well, where every scrape and close encounter was extremely intense. And the reason for that is they used a method that I call, and I'm the only one in the world that calls this, the Beyblade Burst method of tension. Which, what I mean by that is basically they make the protagonists lose so often that every brush with failure feels like it's actually going to happen. And they do that with the crashes. The protagonists crash so often in this movie that you aren't lulled into any false sense of security when they're like very close to each other. You totally believe they could get hit because they have established in the story that will happen. They never let you lose your fear of a crash, which is genius and very well done. So every time those cars get any close to each other and the angles get there, you're like, oh, they're going to crash, they're going to crash. So it's very intense through the whole thing. Very intense. I'm very impressed with that because it worked. It really worked. Now, I guess I didn't watch enough trailers. I kind of avoided them because I knew I was going to see this movie anyway. I didn't know that this movie was going to take place in the modern real life lineup of drivers. So I was very unprepared for the who's who cameos to just like consume the movie. So when Will Buxton shows up as a reporter in the middle of the movie, he was like the first cameo that shows up. I burst out laughing in the theaters. I mean, I kind of died. And I confess that was my reaction every time any team principal came on screen. And they kind of all did at one point or another. And they even made a jab at the popularity of Drive to Survive. And it was hysterical. It was so funny. So it felt very set in the modern driving scene. And I really enjoyed having the actual drivers be these like menacing obstacles in the background. Because, they're real. And since the protagonists were very often at the back of the grid, they usually were scrapping with Haas. And I like that. I have a soft spot for Haas. I like scrappy underdogs. I'm American. It's an American team. What can I tell you?
Once again, most unsportive driver of the
Suck
grid.
my balls, mate.
Yeah,
Maybe not that. And this was filmed presumably before Gunther was fired, so he's there, and that's fun. Everyone was there, which gave the movie a sense of authenticity. You could almost imagine this was actually happening in a season of Formula One. I mean, visually anyway. The back end engineering, the way pit stops were, the costuming, the sets, the cars, everything looked authentic, everything sounded authentic. People didn't act authentic. They they have Brad Pitt's character pull 1,000 things in this movie that would not have flown in a real racetrack. Like, no, 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 no. That was ridiculous. That's not how people would have responded to his antics at all. It did take me out of the movie, but it didn't ruin the movie for me. What did pull down the movie for me was the character flow. The whole story is about the drama between an old driver given one last chance and this rookie wonder. Their relationship is the core of the story, and it's regrettably a little muddled and feels emotionally out of order. Sonny's story kind of takes a page out of Cars 3, where he kind of is supposed to learn to help this guy out. That's kind of the plot. And the point where he decides to help his rival out kind of happens before it should, where he's not given a reason to care about this guy yet, and then he starts to care kind of out of nowhere. And then afterwards, there's a moment where you would think that that would make him care, but it's like it's already happened. So it just felt a little out of order emotionally, where he was helping him too early and then not helping. Like it felt a little jumbled. I feel like there isn't really a moment of connection and of them making this turnaround. It kind of just happens where they eventually become close, and the reasons for it almost happen behind the screen. I don't think it flowed quite as well as it could have, which is a shame. The climax of their friendship is awesome and satisfying and kind of deserves a smoother build up because I really liked the second half. And I just wished it was just a little more earned. It's not terrible. It just feels slightly disconnected from the events that happened. I still enjoyed the resolution and the way it ended up. I wished it was a little clearer how they got to that point. On the other hand, the relationship between Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem was perfect. I loved every second of it. They had such good chemistry. It was kind of a lot of their parts was the best dialogue in the movie. They just had such a good rapport. Pierce and Sonny were all right. I feel like there was a little bit of imbalance between the two of them. Sonny is very fleshed out. We go very in depth into his motivations and his background, including that he crashed while trying to overtake Senna back in the day, which is a hell of a backstory choice. Pierce, in comparison, I feel like they didn't give him as much for the audience to chew on. They gave him a strong mother figure and a dead father and not much else. I wish we could have woven those elements in a little more. Like they could have tied that in with the paternal role that Sonny ends up sliding into. I feel like they could have done more with that. It feels very imbalanced, the amount of screen time, and with this rivalry that they're building up, you kind of needed more from him. But it's okay. It still works. There was good acting all around, very solid side characters. I mean, they were very small bit parts, but they all were pretty likable and consistent, which I liked. I really loved it. It did a good job of reminding me of my love of driving. Ever since I moved to LA last year, it's been very hard to keep that joy for being behind the wheel because it's just mostly traffic and slow and unpleasant. And only when I get on the 2 and everything opens up, I can like remind myself of no, I actually love driving. But it was good to see that them talking about driving in this beautiful and poetic and passionate manner and being like, yeah, no, I get it. I do get it. They do lean on that hard. They kind of tap into they kind of steal the Ford versus Ferrari perfect lap thing. Though they might not have intended to draw from that and were actually drawing from Senna's explanation of how it feels to drive in Monaco. No. But it was very cool. I loved the love and heart and passion that went into the movie. It felt very much a love letter to the sport in many ways. I mean, certainly not to the rules of the sport, but definitely to the driving spirit and the culture and that world. It was very fun to watch, and very fun to watch as someone who has a foot in that world and knows enough to be like, oh, that's very cool. That's a very I enjoyed it a lot. But you tell me what you thought of this F1 movie. Comment down below, and if you like this review, subscribe. And if you'd like to support me more, I have a book, Bone Song: Diary of a Sentient Sword. The first 10 chapters are free in the link below. This month, I'm releasing a new chapter every single day. Click the link below to check it out. Happy reading. Take care.